Hi, this is Karen Gaines, your nonprofit finance guide, and today I am going to talk about the components of internal controls. So, on this channel, I talk about internal controls often, which are processes and procedures put in place to deter and prevent fraud and errors, and have operations run smoothly. The COSO framework is an industry standard model for evaluating and implementing internal controls within organizations. COSO stands for Committee of Sponsoring Organizations of the Treadway Commission. So there are 5 components of the COSO framework. 5 components they determine of internal controls. And so I'm going to go through those 5 components. And they are control environment, risk assessment, control activities, information and communication, and monitoring. Okay? So I have this little chart or image so that you can view it a little bit better. So the control environment, it said that the control environment is the foundation of internal controls. Okay? It is the control environment is the overall attitude and actions of leadership and management of the organization. If the leadership and management of the organization don't take internal controls seriously, it's going to trickle down to everyone else in the organization too. Or it's highly likely that they will. And so if leadership is not taking internal controls seriously, no one else will probably take internal controls seriously either. Okay, so if you don't have the right control environment, everything else of the COSO framework kind of falls to pieces. So next we have risk assessment. And risk assessment involves identifying and assessing risks that will affect the organization to achieve goals, lose money, and produce inaccurate financials. It's essentially finding weaknesses in your organization. It's really identifying opportunities where something can go wrong, like stealing money or something being done incorrectly that will produce your inaccurate financials. Next, we have the control environment, control activities. Control activities are the actual processes, procedures, and policies that are put in place to mitigate risks identified in risk assessments. So once you've identified your risks, you then want to put something in place like processes and policies. You want to put something in place to mitigate or lower those risks. Okay, so just think about think about a dam. Okay, a dam holds water back, and somehow or another there are holes got punctured into the dam, and so now water is leaking out, and that which is your risk, because the risk is at some point, if not enough holes are poked in the dam, the whole dam is going to just fall apart. So you've identified your risk. Well, the control activities essentially put holes or put plugs in those holes so that water is no longer coming out of the dam. Control activities will identify, well, how are holes getting into the dam in the first place, and put processes and procedures in place to mitigate the risk of holes being punctured in the walls in the dam in the first place. Okay, and then we have information and communication. So once you have those control activities in place, you want to essentially carry that communication out to the rest of your organization, or at least to the people who it applies to. Okay, so you want, that could be, setting up a meeting, talking to staff about the policy you put in place, communicating it to them, and making sure they understand. And then you have monitoring. Monitoring is assessing whether the controls put in place are working if they need updated or improved. So it's really looking back at the policy you've put in place and just making sure that the risk is mitigated and is working, the policy or the process is working as intended. Okay, so I'm going to just use an example to further ensure you understand the process. So let's take petty cash, for example. Most organizations have a petty cash account. Okay, so let's say the petty cash is left on top of someone's desk, unlocked, and people go in and out and just take what they need. All right, so we've identified a problem here. Okay, so what the first step would be to identify the risk, which we just did. And the risk is someone could just come in, take money, not provide receipts, or take money and use it for personal use. The risk is the petty cash could get stolen. So now you put in control activities. Okay, so the control activity could be, hey, we're going to keep petty cash in a locked drawer, and only certain individuals can go into petty cash. Only we'll say the CEO and the staff accountant. Okay, we'll say those two individuals. And when they go into petty cash, they have to fill out a receipt stating what they're using the money for, and then they must provide a receipt and put it back into petty cash. And the petty cash box is reconciled once a month. Okay, so that's the process, that's the policy. Information and communication. So now that you've put your processes and policies and procedures in place, now you want to communicate it. So you communicate it to your accountant, and it's communicated to the CEO. It's communicated to those individuals, and it's an opportunity for them to ask questions, make sure they're clear on the process. And then there's monitoring. So let's say about 2 or 3 months later, you go back and you monitor the progress. You go back and you look at the reconciliations. You look and just make sure receipts are being provided when someone takes petty cash out of the petty cash account. You go back and make sure that the petty cash is actually locked in a locked drawer. Okay, so I just used petty cash as an example to go through the COSO framework. Now let's say that the CEO has a key to the locked drawer, and he or she goes into the petty cash, they unlock it, and they just take money out, just whenever they want. They want, to buy lunch for themselves, and so they just take out a petty cash. Or, maybe they do need to buy something for the office, and he or she just takes money out, but don't provide an explanation for what the money was used for or a receipt. In essence, the CEO is not following the policy. CEO is not following the procedures put in place. So if the CEO is not doing it, the staff accountant may not do it either. And there may be others that are just looking and they'll say, oh, okay, we can just take money out, randomly as well. And so this is an example of your controlled environment gone wrong. Okay, the CEO is not respecting the policy. It's it's highly likely no one else will respect the policy either. Now, if the CEO does respect the policy, he or she puts, follows the rules and state the purpose of petty cash, then everyone else will as well. Okay, so that control environment is very important because if the leadership, the folks at the top are not following instruction, if they're not following the processes and policies, like everything else is just kind of just gone to waste, really. Okay? So hopefully this has been helpful. Let me know what you all think. If you're watching via YouTube, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a great day.